for Joanne's sake.
So Becky is our new conservation agent, and I am her liaison. We had a chance to meet over the last week or two to discuss her budget. I had her timing of her start wrong when we talked last meeting. She's been here about 6 months. She came in several weeks after Glenn left as agent, so it wasn't as big of a gap as we were initially talking about last week. And she's here to talk about her budget. It's as the other budgets, it's a level-funded budget that I think meets the requirements that their services they're providing now, and she can kind of walk through the individual line items to kind of remind us as to what they're being used for. And I had mentioned to her we're not into the dollar amounts on staffing, but if you could just summarize what we have for staff over there, and then the highlights of the items, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yep, so in the conservation department, it's myself, so I'm the department head, I'm a full-time employee. We also have a part-time administrative assistant. She currently works 25 hours out of this budget. She's paid for 20 hours, and 5 hours comes out of our Wetlands Protection Act fund that is funded from fees we receive for our reviews. So 5 hours comes out of that, and the 20 hours comes out of this budget. So for purchase of services, when I went through and was doing this, we had this due like beginning of December, so I wasn't here for very long. So what I did was I kind of went back and looked at what was asked in the previous years to kind of see what was asked for, what was needed, what was used. So most of this it's like Mike said, it's level funded. Kind of looked at what we had before. So for training programs, we asked that to stay the same. We use that for myself and our conservation commissioners. We go to different conferences and trainings to stay current with things going on for conservation commissions. Wetlands Protection Act, DEP offers some things. The professional and tech services, that was taken out a few years ago, so we left that at 0. The lakes testing program, we're requesting to keep that at the same. And you're probably familiar with that. We work with the Sturbridge Lakes Association Commission, and they do most of the work. We do some of the work with them, but we do fund that testing of our Great Lakes.
That's when you go out, you actually go out on a boat for that, right?
Yes, I should be able to go do that with them this year. So they do most of it.
Oh, that's right, they do that in the summer.
Yeah. So we'll help with that, and then we do have some other fees down at the bottom for that as well. But legal ads, we're asking that to stay at $250. We do require that our applicants pay their own legal fees, but we do have our own legal fees that we need for postings for public hearings. We'll probably be doing 2 or 3 this year for the bylaw regulation revisions that we're required for. So we're hoping that that should be sufficient for that. I don't anticipate that we would need any other legal ads this year. And then going down a little bit further, I had asked for $1,000 for conservation properties maintenance. And what we were looking for was funding for some of the maintenance on our properties. So we have the care and custody of many of the open space properties that we have. They're pretty large in size. I think it's about almost 2,000 acres that we have the care and custody of. So what we're looking for is management of some of our habitat features that we have out there. In the past, there has been mowing of like early successional fields. There's hayfield management. Some of that was done through a local farmer. So there are options for doing things. So I had worked with Barbara on this, and we actually kind of discussed not including it in our budget for this year and looking to just have that money put towards DPW's budget, because we could use them with their staff and their equipment to do some of that for this year. But we are going to be working on looking into grants and other options to get some of that work done versus having to pay for that work. So we're going to work on that this year. My plan is to come up with like a management plan for our properties, so that way we don't have to come back and kind of ask for that or use it for DPW. The next amount was $2,000. Last year, we were given $2,000 for the removal of the outbuildings, and I'm sure Glenn probably talked about it a little bit, but there's on 3 of the different properties, there's 6 different outbuildings that have kind of been deemed a hazard. A lot of our trails have been built by there, and some of them are kind of interesting maybe for kids to get into, and there's concern that people have been kind of going into them. So $2,000 was asked for last year. I've been working on a cost estimate for getting that work done, and I'd asked for the $2,000 here. Spoke to Barbara a lot, and because these properties were bought with CPA funds, we're looking to go to CPC for funding for the removal of those buildings. So we took it out here because we're pretty confident that we can use those funds for that work, since it is on properties that were purchased with those funds. So we worked together to take that out. So I'm okay, with that not being added into the budget. We were supposed to go to CPC on the 21st, but it was canceled for a snowstorm. So we'll go back in May, they scheduled us for. So hoping that that's an avenue for funding for those properties as well, so we won't have to ask for it in our budget.
Doesn't that have to be a warrant article before that?
I don't think so. That's not my understanding
Oh.
from talking to Barbara, but I think if we went for betterment, I think it would have to be. I think that it just would have to be approved, because I know that Trails Committee goes to them for a lot of
So
Trail.
Nicola, you said you were going to them in May. Did you really mean May, or did you mean April?
I did mean May, right. They had to cancel that meeting that we had. It was supposed to go on the 21st of March. And then she just let me know today that they had a meeting last night, I guess, that will be on their May agenda for that, so.
I thought CPC expenditures were warrant articles.
Yes.
I think you're right. I think we did one for $800 for batteries a couple of years ago.
Do they know you're going to ask for this?
They do know, I didn't present the information to them yet, but they do know that I'm asking for monies for the properties, so.
And they do have like a $15,000 administrative,
I don't know if that would come out. Yeah, they do have that, and I think they've already
usually for legal
put that in.
fees. Yeah,
And,
yeah, or for
Maybe
doing
some-
appraisals and things,
right.
paying lawyers. So I don't know if they could use that.
I mean, last year they had several articles, the cemetery, historic survey, the tennis basketball court, and then the administration, so I don't,
It seems to me, maybe not this past year, but the previous year, whoever mentioned Trails, I thought Trails had a couple of articles
Oh.
looking for funds.
Barbara says it does need to be a warrant article.
Yeah.
Okay.
She is watching us.
Need to coordinate with them, make sure that it's,
Hmm.
timing works out to get on the warrant.
Right.
Okay.
There's still time for it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but if they're not going to mid-May, but,
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
I can
April
present
28th
them
is,
the information ahead of time so they can look at it and be prepared for it.
because we go to press mid-May,
right, that's right. And I think
Before.
the.
and the warrant closes,
Yeah, April 28th, I thought I
yeah,
heard
they said the end of
that.
April, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so you might want to check that out.
Okay.
Oh, well, I mean, having said that, you can't go to betterment for funding for that, but could you go, is that something STA would consider? Have you looked into that or talked to Barbara about
Yeah, I
that?
know.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure
betterment's
about-
already set, yeah.
Yeah, betterment's already set, so,
Okay.
STA is
Those are
not.
certainly other sources. I kind of like the idea of using CPC funds because, kind of like when Tom was here with Trails, a lot of effort goes into making those lands usable by volunteers. So, part of this is, a warrant article for X dollars to go out and purchase a piece of property. That's not the end of it. There's ongoing upkeep and maintenance, and if we started with the CPC funds to do that, continuing to fund the maintenance and the upkeep is something you purchase from that same fund
Right, the
Makes a lot of
preservation
sense.
of the property too, so.
versus sticking it in the town operating budget and putting pressures on other parts of the operation of the
Right.
town services there.
Okay, so under supplies, office supplies, we're asking that to be level funded. I actually decreased the magazine subscription. We mostly just use that for a few magazines in the office, stormwater, but we also have, our Christmas tree hunt, and we buy magazines for the kids who win that raffle. It's either like a Mass Wildlife or Ranger Rick. So that's pretty much all that we've been using it for. So I think that $100 is more than sufficient for that. So for Adobe software, I'm asking for another license in our office for the administrative assistant. So right now, I mean, I have the license on my computer, and I'd like to keep it. With our assistant, she could really use it for making our online forms and applications, fillable documents. Trying to maybe like shift into doing more electronic stuff to try to save with mailing, et cetera, and time. We have a lot of organization projects that we want to work on for scanning in documents for PDFs, et cetera. We're hoping that the Conservation Department wasn't using the permitting software and be shifting into that with the new permitting software that we'll be getting. We're hoping that can help with like online submissions and getting it into the software, and that person, the assistant, would have those functions to kind of go through with some of the applications. We would redact certain things that would be coming in as PDFs so that she could easily do those type of things versus, right now we go up and we have to scan in the scanner, make PDFs, et cetera. She would have to change things with what I have for my license. So I'm hoping that we can have that for the assistant to kind of make things a little bit more efficient in our office and eventually make kind of our filings maybe a little bit easier with electronic submissions too. That's it for supplies. Other charges, dues, we have Mass Association of Conservation Commission. We have our yearly dues for myself and the commissioners. With the mileage fee, we're asking to keep that level funded. And then the food for the lakes testing program, they usually do something for lunch or coffee or something for the volunteers. So that covers it.
Questions?
I just have a question on, so a few years ago, town funded for gates and all that. Have they been installed? Because I don't think they were installed this time last year. I could be wrong.
Correct. The Plimpton one was installed. The lead mine one might have been done before. I'm not positive on that one, which gate that was. There's entrance on the other side too, so I'd have to look into that. But it's my understanding that that's been done and that money's been used, so.
I knew
It's
that
up.
there was one of them was not ready to be installed
Yeah,
yet.
the Plimpton one just went in, so that might have been the last one.
And then, and one other thing, so the outbuildings on the land, so you were talking about them, what exactly are they?
So on the Plimpton property, there's.
Oh, it's Plimpton, so it's not lead mine and not the,
It's all of them, yeah. So Plimpton has one building, and that one is an old shed that's down there. I think it's about 10 by 20 in size. That was part of the Christmas tree farm. There's that one. We have on the Heinz property, there's a cabin that's up on the property. It's right off of one of the trails. That's a small outbuilding, but it has linoleum, it's got windows, it's got shingles, so there's concerns of, we have to have inspections on those too. And then on lead mine, there's multiple properties. So there's a large old stall barn, which is probably about 20 by 60, 80 around there. It's a pretty big structure, pretty dilapidated. And then there's 3 small outbuildings that were probably outhouses on another portion of the property.
so, and I know those buildings that you're talking about, some of them are pretty well dilapidated, but I'm just, like, they don't pose a problem, though.
Well, there's a concern. I think there's been people kind of breaking into them a little bit, like the one on the Heinz property. I guess there's been observed, like tea light candles in there. The Plimpton could be attractive for people to go down there and go into that one. I don't know that anyone's been breaking into that one. There was some thought, and people have looked into in the past, for the Plimpton property is maybe redoing that one, but I think they thought it was best to tear that down and maybe build a new one eventually for uses down there.
Just that they've been there for so long, I've never
Yeah,
seen them as a problem.
the big barn, I've gone up there, and that one, I mean, if someone went in there and kind of fell through the floor, it could be a problem. Those little outhouses are kind of on the hill, same thing. If someone went in there and fell, there could be a concern.
Those are hard to get to, though. I
Well, the
tried.
trails actually, right, well, the trails are.
Pretty steep.
Yeah. They put a trail right next to it, so now that a lot of people are using these properties, they're all immediately adjacent to trails, so.
So I'll have the workable outhouse halfway through their hike. They just become nuisances, all those buildings is what you're trying to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could be an attractive nuisance there. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Now, how far along are you on the new regulations?
So we're waiting, we went back over comments from Board of Selectmen and from council. We had a few more questions which we sent back to council about a month and a half ago, and we're waiting on comment for that. So those should finalize everything with the revisions, and then the next step would be to have our public hearings for those. So we're just waiting to hear back.
Okay.
Is that going to be in the warrant this year?
No, regulations don't go to the town
Correct.
meeting. It's only
Yeah.
bylaws that go.
So,
So those are regs that
So
are
it's-
passed ultimately by the Board of Selectmen, right? Or is it just by the Conservation
By the
Commission?
Conservation Commission.
Okay. Then why hasn't there been a public hearing in front of the Board of Selectmen, though?
It
Or-
has, yeah, it was presented to them for comment and review.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is this for use of the open space?
no.
No, it's just the regulations that
Yeah. for the
accompany
survey.
their bylaws,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit
for our
more,
wetland bylaw, we have supporting regulations. They haven't been revised since, I believe, 2004. So the commission's been working over the past couple of years, actually kind of slowly picking away at the different chapters and looking at revisions. They've removed a lot of text, made it a little more user-friendly, so.
I watched that hearing with the Board of Selectmen. I was under the impression that they left that hearing with the understanding they were going to come back again and be in front of the Select Board again with some changes, some requests that were made by the selectmen.
Well, they closed the public hearing when we left, so I think it was my understanding, the commissioner's understanding, that we weren't coming back. We did go over it at one of our meetings and went through
Okay.
the different questions, so.
I might have missed that one.
you miss a meeting? Any other questions? Wow. Well, thank you then. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming. You're done early. We had allotted half an hour for you. So Greg can start early.
Can we do that?
You can end early, too, if you want.
Oh, can we do that?
That's the question.
Are you
Can
being-
we-
are you
we
being
allowed to do
facetious?
that? We are, Larry?
Sure, it's a meeting.
It's not a public hearing. Yeah, I was just going to say.
Oh, wow.
If anyone has the answer, he will.
I was going to say, wow.
I mean, it's more of an estimated
Because if that's the
time.
case, I could ask questions.
Hurry.
All right, thank you. Nice to meet you. How you doing?
And you're DPW, right?
I am. So Greg and I didn't get together and meet physically, but we spoke on the phone, what, about a week ago, Greg? Yeah. So we chatted for a while. And a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight, I think we already discussed on the 24th when we had the meeting right here.
Right.
with the
Yeah, we
select
did.
board, but, So,
You got trinkets for us?
oh, boy.
Awesome.
This is kind of the update on the road program that
Oh,
you
good, I
guys were
asked,
asking
yeah.
about.
Thank you.
It's not the full study, but it's a good kind of synopsis of what's going on, where we stand, and
Thank you.
I got enough too.
Well, there's 3 people missing. So,
I got a couple. Do you want them?
no.
I got
Well,
2 extras.
all right.
So you're going to
Sure.
go over what these bars mean, right?
Yeah. So essentially, this is, this chart was developed by CMRCP, and it's about road conditions in their project area, which is basically Worcester County. And evidently, out of the 55 towns in Worcester County, 40 of them have some type of road program that they're aware of, and in order to protect, you know, the names, he didn't like spell out towns, but there's essentially 40 towns on this bar chart. And if you read down the second paragraph, our readout is, our thing is 80.03. So if you go across the chart at 80, essentially 31, number 31 is the first town above 80, equal to or above 80. So there's like 30 below and 9 above. So assuming that we're number 31 out of the 40, it's either 31 or 32, they're both very close.
You think we're 31?
We're either 31 or 32.
That's 80.
Oh, got it, yeah,
We just get
yeah. So
there.
we're 73 is what you're saying, okay.
No, we're 80.
We're 80?
The region, the average, so essentially what the chart's telling you is that the average for all these towns cumulatively is 73.03.
And Sturbridge is an 80.
And we're at 80.03.
So we're in the top 20%. Pretty much.
Oh,
And-
looks like, we might be 36. Well, anyway, when you say we're in the top, are we on the good end?
The
or
good
bad
end,
No, we're on the good
Okay.
end.
So help me understand what an 83 is. Is this the one where they come out and they look at all your roads and they grade them on some scale?
Right.
And they're looking, you used to do that kind of like a 1 through 10, and you guys at the barn would stick a number and say, yeah, that's a 6, that's an
Exactly
8.
right.
These
And-
guys do a more detailed analysis, looking at
they
some
look
more
at-
factors than you did, and
Yeah,
consistent scales.
they're
And
more, you know, they can average, the average expense across all of Worcester County,
Right.
where, you know, my thing was pretty much limited to what we're paying, you know, what we would project or what we're paying for paving, things like that. So it's,
so this is dollars, expense related. This isn't road condition, this number, right?
oh, this number is road, this is the average road condition, yeah.
Condition,
Yeah.
okay.
Greg, this is just the roads we're responsible for. This doesn't include 20 or any, it doesn't
All
include
these
the state
strictly
highway.
Strictly town roads.
Right, so, because,
Right. I got that impression too, yeah.
because
What does OCI stand for?
I do have that. Let's see.
I bet you the CI is condition index.
condition index, I was going to say.
Overall?
Overall condition index, there we go.
Let's see how close you are.
Who knows?
So 100 would be like perfect, like new road.
Well, nobody's perfect.
But if you
think
just pave
everybody-
something, it would be like 100, that section of road, and then that's kind of the baseline or the
If they-
standard.
Yeah, if you did something really, you know, brand new and
Yeah.
new guardrails, new paving, or new sub-base or whatever, and,
A fresh coat of blacktop on something where you didn't fix the drainage, and, you know,
yeah.
you've got
If you
other
don't
issues,
look at the
still won't
drainage,
get you to 100.
That's all part of
Yeah,
it.
you have to meet all the new, just updated codes and things, yeah.
I don't see what it means, but I think it's overall condition index or something. I don't see exactly where it goes spelled out.
So Greg, do you have well, I guess if they're not picking on towns, I don't want to pick
Oh,
on
it is
streets,
overall
but what are like the
condition index.
really bad ones that you really want to concentrate on? Or is there an area that you think?
Well,
Needs it.
Yeah, we have a kind of a in-house list that we maintain where we should go, and part of that is daily usage. We look at daily usage, and, you know, sometimes we do a small road or a side road and try to get ahead of it before it gets too bad, but we do have a list of roads that we want to work on. I haven't done my chapter 90 for this year, but that'll be coming shortly. All the roads are measured, I just haven't put them on a form yet. Submitting the selectmen.
So the information was used to create this index that you're showing here. Is that, you said it was rating of our roads in town, so does that give you a rating for each individual road that on average comes up to 80? And if so,
No, their master report had the initial startup, but I didn't get an update. This is what we got.
so it's not like they're grading individual roads and coming up with an overall rating of our roads compared to others, and then from that, you can figure out what you thought was a poor condition road versus their analysis and go from
Well,
there.
their analysis and our analysis is pretty close. You know, there's a few, just a few things they might have higher on the list than I do, and I have things higher on the list than they do, so, but it's pretty,
So it's detailed, a breakdown of the different roads individually?
well, the original report had a listing of what they went down through, but we don't have it. Every 5 years, it's supposed to give us like a master report.
Yeah.
In between, it's just supposed to update it, I guess evidently like this.
But you can go for a ride and see which ones need them.
Well, you can, generally, you can drive around different towns and, you can kind of judge where
Yeah, sure.
you are. They get an average figure, which wasn't on, this was a different email, but there's an average figure of where we are for expenses. And they look at routine maintenance, preventive maintenance, structural improvement, and base rehabilitation. They come up with an overall backlog of work of $2,659,401. So, what that tells you is, if we spent $2 million, would everything be at 100? The answer is still no.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. So, but in order to get, your listing up a little higher, maybe up and did a, 90 or something, that's what you're looking at, $2.5 million worth of work.
So Greg, what I was getting at earlier about the roads, which you'll work on, happened to see in the news that, Boston's in the news again with, at the end of wintertime with those wonderful potholes. And they were talking about the amount of money spent on tires and, private property being destroyed because of these wonderful potholes. What do you see there? I mean, I personally don't know of anybody who's ever had anything happen to their car because of any serious damage on the roads, but I'm just curious to know. And
What happens is, if somebody has a claim or wants to put a claim against the town, they go to the town administrator, and file, there's a form to file. It goes to Maya. Maya will send out like a request for information, and that would come to me if it was related to highway. And then I fill it out and a lot of it's predominantly has to do with when was the defect known to the town. So, say
sorry, defect of the road?
the defect of whatever happened.
Yeah.
When was that known to the town? And that kind of regulates how the insurance is applied. So you might have damage to a wheel or rim, but if we weren't called on it to repair it, the defect wasn't known to the town, and you might not get it repaired. But if we had a call, per se, there's a pothole on Brookfield Road, and we didn't go do it, and then there was a second one, that's when the town, the liability kind of kicks in. The first one, maybe not, but the second one, for sure, you would have to.
And does that come out of this operating budget, or is there?
It's out of the insurance, that's strictly insurance.
Oh, so it would go fully through insurance for the town?
It would.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So there aren't many, we had one in the snowstorm, actually, at this, almost identically the same time. We had a manhole cover that came off from a plow on, right near the intersection of Fokker Road, and one came off right near McDonald's. And, so the one at Fakwa Road was actually broken, a chunk broke out of it. The one over on McDonald's just popped out. So we ended up putting a brand-new cover at Fakwa Road, and then we brought a second new cover out to McDonald's just to, and took the old one back. But, so, you know, I don't know, actually, that paperwork just came in. I'm not really sure how that insurance goes, because it really isn't under town control. It's a state, you know, the state highway. It's not under town control, but it was a sanitary or sewer manhole, so that's the first time that's ever happened. It might
That is
happen.
interesting. So do you keep extra manhole covers?
Oh, yeah, I got.
Do you?
I do.
I thought you were going to say no.
He probably has a private stash of everything.
Aren't they bolted down?
Those things are heavy, I
We
know
got
that.
two different sizes, 24s and 26s, so.
Oh, wow, that's
yeah.
funny.
There were a couple
That's
incidents
dangerous.
on 20 at the I-84 overpass, a couple of cars. Some pavement, serious amount of pavement came out of there with the plowing.
Really?
A couple of cars, yeah, they
Oh.
lost some wheels.
Yeah.
But that was, I think that was
Recently,
the
or-
first bad storm.
Oh.
Yeah. But you can see the damage to the roads just with the.
Yeah, there was a lot of plowing with no frost in the ground, and it took its toll, there's no doubt about it.
Is there any reason not to fasten down the manhole covers more securely, or?
Well, the new push is to put locking covers on, which is a bolt, and we do have some locking covers. Essentially, the only ones that are in existence are along the Quinnebog River. It's in a floodplain.
Yeah.
So the locking cover actually was holding a gasket down, so you wouldn't get, if that area flooded, you wouldn't get
Right.
infiltration. But the state is pretty much going to that.
Well, there
near
was-
speed roads.
Yeah, there was a woman who was killed by a manhole cover, I think, on
Yeah.
the turnpike.
Turnpike, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause it flew up and went right through the windshield.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine people would be going fast enough for that to be an issue here, but it could happen, I guess. The
Well,
right,
if it-
kind of a
you
freak
know,
accident, yeah.
It just depends on, there's different plows coming out with different attachments now, instead of having a single blade of steel that's 11 feet wide. They have, it's almost like a serrated plow with 1-foot sections, 11 of them, and they actually act independently on the plow face, pop up and down. They're very expensive to install, but they probably keep better, overall, they keep, if the road's a little bit out of whack, it keeps better contact on the
Yeah.
ground. But in the event of hitting a manhole cover or something like that, you're gonna have an individual, of more direct contact, where a big blade over 11 feet, there's highs and lows in the road, and it's getting as much as it can, but it doesn't get it all. These ones with the adjustable feet are, put more contact on the road. AK, if they hit a manhole, but then, I think the incidence of these covers flying off and stuff is probably gonna go up as more of these things get out of the system. But, we've looked at them, but they are really expensive. Just haven't decided to do that.
I had a question, Greg, not on the amount, but on the variation in the salaries and wages. And you may have covered this on the 24th, but I look at 17, I look at 18, and then I look at your request for 19, and we used almost 796,000 fiscal year 18. It's at 766, and it's going to 754. Has there been a change in the staffing? Did I miss something?
No, I think Barbara was right, but I had originally, I had Booth in there, but she had already taken it out before the number was posted, and then, because I just don't want to lose him in the system. He's the only guy out there that's underneath that contract, and like I said, for longevity and uniforms and all that stuff, he's in the list, but, the people who left are veteran people, and the people that are coming in are gonna be at a reduced rate, so that's.
Okay, so it's, okay, I just,
But along that lines, Jim, I was looking at last year's notes when you were before us, Greg, and you can certainly recall this better than my note, but, you're always asking for your teams right? You had 3 vacancies, and you've been carrying 3 vacancies for as long as I've been on this committee. But last year, you removed one, is that right? So in other words, you just took it out of your request? I don't know if that means,
No, last year Leon removed one.
okay, it was removed. So I did write that. So would that also be some of the decrease in between what you've requested over the years and what you've been
That
given
would've
in what you're looking at, Jim? I just happened to notice that, and I do remember a long discussion on that. And I know you're not keen on it because, you know, you've been after these people forever.
I'm getting close. This week, I'm gonna
Do you have any more thoughts on that? I mean,
well, I mean, we need the help, I'm just, you know, this, between, all the stuff that's coming down with, I mean, we needed the help 11 years ago, I was hoping to get one guy here and one guy there and one guy here and build it up that way, but with, stormwater management and mapping, certainly mapping on, on the water sewer side and then outfalls and hydrants and all that stuff. It's a great thing. I mean, we'll have it committed on paper, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of staff, a lot of readings.
is it because a lot of the equipment now is just that much more involved and?
Well, it's really, they're really mandates from DEP and EPA
Sure.
to get this done. And, on paper, we have certainly we have the original phase 1, which was a 2-part A and D system, actually a 3-part. It was essentially from right around Arnold Road East was one phase, and then Arnold Road West and up Brookfield Road was the second phase, and the treatment plant was the original construction. And then certainly after that came phase 2, Cedar Lake, Big Allen, and Tasker Extension, and phase 3. So we have all the mapping, we have it all on paper, but we don't have it in electronic form. And subsequent, to that is the addition of where somebody might have extended beyond what the town, like on Clark Road, for example, a person extended up Clark Road from the original phase of the sewer that the town did to build a few more houses. So there are certain extensions that need to be, they weren't covered underneath town work, but they have been extended into different areas. So all that stuff will be caught up. So.
And is it because once they go public and all that, it becomes your responsibility?
Yeah, I think there are towns that have serious, with the older systems, they have serious, location problems. They can't find, where this line starts here and it ends up over there, but where it goes in between these two locations is.
So to do that work, you would use someone from the highway department?
We do, yeah. Have all along, so but it does take a lot of time.
So it's some field work to identify facilities, do some mapping.
Go out and get readings, and then you bring them in and, plot them on the map
And the readings are
for the locations.
Lats and Long's GPS coordinates is
Yeah.
what you're putting in there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you could also, to supplement that use, might be an engineering school in the area where senior students are trying to do senior projects that, maybe this helps out.
Well, originally, we started that way, and what was happening was the information that was coming in was extremely inaccurate. And, you would you'd have a catch basin reading given to you, you plot it on the road, and the thing's out off the road, 30 feet. So you do that for a couple of years, and, finally you just say, we're just gonna do it, on our own, and we can get 50 readings today, and then go out and plot them, in the morning, and then plot them in the afternoon, and see how it fits in on the mapping. So it's a lot easier to, I guess, control, and it gives you a semblance of if you're it's coming along correctly or not. So it's hard,
So,
you
so,
get that information, you go out and you gotta take the shot anyway, so it's not really saving you a whole heck of a lot
so the
of time.
scope here is to go out and map, field verify and map locations of water and sewer assets that then take those field mapping coordinates back into a mapping program that you can then use.
Right,
I'll make a few phone calls.
and, you know, we do
And you
some-
have the GPS
do
tools
some,
and
planning
equipment.
does some.
And-
So it's a combination of both, so.
So even if you had somebody go out to lead a group of students around, that they could collect the data, they know what they're getting, and the students can go off and do, some of the mapping, other work behind, and you've got one person doing this versus multiple
Yeah,
people.
water and sewer is pretty much done, and hydrants done, town hydrants done, but stormwater management, the
in
urbanized
there,
areas
isn't
are
it?
done, and now we're kind of popping out beyond the urbanized
Yeah.
areas.
Fire department's up 33%.
So on your budget here, Becky was in before you, she had a mowing item in her budget for some of the conservation lands that, I guess they were gonna add money into your overtime budget to have your guys.
Yeah,
So when I see your overtime budget up $2,000 this year, that includes that.
It goes back, originally it was Heinz's farm, and they had received a grant to mow because there was, I don't know, one invasive species or two invasive species they were kind of watching once, once it came into effect, and so they needed it mowed. So they had gotten a grant or assistance from somebody, and they asked us if we would mow it. So that's how we kind of became involved in it. We would do it on a Saturday or a Sunday and mow it, and all under the issue of preventing this invasive species from overtaking the, I think they call it the wildlife field or something, I'm not really sure the name of it, but, so we've been doing it for several years, probably 7, 8, anyway, something like that. And, so the first year or two was a grant, but then it was started just going into their budget, and now, they actually look like they wanted to do a little more too, in the hayfield, because the person who was haying it previously is no longer gonna be available to do it, so we'll end up mowing that. So they've kind of added on to the scope of the work.
And Becky and I
Also-
talked about some other options, and I know there's another town that, in the area that's got a town-owned farm, that they bid out the haying operation to local folks and get a few dollars, and yet have
Yeah,
somebody hay it and actually use the hay versus just cut it and leave it, so.
yeah.
I know she's
We'll be
looking at other
coordinating it with
options.
a landowner of, because it's technically, your right to get to the field comes through a private landowner, so you gotta get permission to do that, so. Our stuff is small enough, we can go over the existing bridges to get in there, but without going over the landowner's, property, but, if somebody starts to bring, there was kind of an agreement there in the past, that if somebody brings in haying equipment or trucking equipment, they're gonna have to, somebody's gonna have to get permission from the landowner to do that. So there is a little sensitive.
So then, sorry, I was going to say, so it almost seems if you're going to be taking on some of these additional costs or maintenance, having an extra person might be beneficial.
Yeah, that's,
I'm just trying to help.
Heinz is one, and then there's another area down off of the Riverlands that there was a meadow there, and they wanted that done too, so we've been doing them both.
I think I know where you're going. You're trying to give him back the one that came back before.
Just trying
On
to
the other
help.
hand, I hear him say, he's been shorthanded for a while, he's finally gonna get 3 new people. I think for this year, get the 3 new people, get them on board, get them integrated, and then if next year you need one more, maybe that's the time to
Well,
bring that.
honestly, that's how it's been ever since I've been on the committee, and probably, Larry and Mike can say probably longer than that. That's just something that I've learned, but it's not any different from what you're probably going to hear from Chief Ford either, because he has his manpower report too, right?
Right.
But I do think last year, I was a little taken aback that you relented to get rid of a position. That's all. That's all. You know, being a big advocate of wanting this
Well, you know, we
other
need-
team,
we need
three-person
that,
team.
You know, I guess,
Part of the dilemma you face is the more you train somebody, the more skills you teach them, the more value they become to somebody else.
well, that's what happens, you know, we,
Right.
one of the guys this year retired, but the other one went.
Probably went to work for R.H. White or somebody like that with all the
He
skills you
went to another
taught.
town, but he, you know, he got a pretty sizable raise and.
But you could argue, I mean, a lot of your vehicle maintenance now, you were saying, is
Going up.
going
Doesn't
out,
go
right?
down, yeah.
Volvo and all these other specialized things that you have.
Well, just the number of vehicles, all the town hall, you know, when I got here, there was essentially 2 pickup trucks at Highway, and I drove my own around for like the first 5 or 6 years, and it got smashed up once right outside on this sewer line, and then it got smashed up again at the water tower when a trailer truck came back down the hill with a excavator on it with no truck on the front of it. It was just sliding down the hill, and my truck stopped it from basically coming down into
Oh, my.
the St. Anne's area, I'll say that. So we've come a long way in a short time, but a fairly short time, but
But at what cost?
yikes.
So the other details you explained at the Saturday meeting there, but last year you had and I see the next page here is your road budget. That becomes a warrant article. Last year we had $458,000 in there, but you didn't necessarily identify the roads that were gonna be maintained. I assume you're gonna have a similar article this year?
Yeah.
And do you know how much that's going to be?
Well, they haven't asked me for it yet, so I haven't done it, but that's part of the chapter 90 thing. Some of it's under chapter 90, and some of it's under the town.
Would that be the only, do you know of any other articles? You got water, sewer, and then roads, of course, and then what else do you have? Anything?
Well, it was road, I don't know if they combined it. It was road reconstruction and road maintenance were two.
I think the title was both. I think it was a combined article.
Oh, we combined it.
Construction and
Oh, it's
maintenance.
combined now?
I think it,
I thought it was
It
separate,
was.
no?
What's up?
they call it road construction repairs and maintenance.
Oh,
It
it's
was
all
under,
one,
it was
okay.
one article last year.
Yep, page 20.
So we combined it, but that was,
Yeah.
they used to be two separate.
Like $200,000?
So how about water and sewer budget? Is there anything in those, typically we look at them and say, yeah, they are what they are. Is there anything in there? I know I and a few neighbors had to have our sewer pumps changed out within a few days of each other. It seems like that's occurring more and more, and you guys repair them and reuse them there, but
Right.
is that an increasing problem? Do you need to increase some of the repair costs in that budget?
Way back, when the initial use of them was talked about, the designer or the developer of the specific pump said that, you know, you could expect to, once these things get in and operating, you could expect to plan, or you can plan on roughly around 10% of these things failing. If there's 50 in, you might have to rebuild 5 on a yearly basis. If there's 100 in, you might have to rebuild 10. Which was the claim. So, and what wears the pump out is, it certainly varies, you know, it's how they're used. You shouldn't put these wipes in there. It's a fibrous material. It's, you know, everybody reads on the thing, it's a Clorox wipe is flushable. Well, it's flushable, but it's not pumpable. You know, what really hits you in the head is a pump is a pump, and a gravity system's a gravity system to your tank or whatever. That's the only reason you don't have trouble, because when you have your septic tank serviced, you're taking them out of they're not going into the treatment area, hopefully. But, you know, certainly if you have a septic tank and you ignore it for 25 years, 30 years, the solids build up in that, and that floods your treatment area, and that's what creates the failure. So, all these new products, they may say flushable, they're not pumpable. You gotta keep that in mind. it goes through your pump, this fibroid stuff gets out there in the system, times, you know, say 50 houses or 100 houses, gets down into a primary pump station and just balls it up. And it's a, you know, Sturbridge isn't unique with this problem. It's certainly, it's, you know, industry-wide, it's millions and probably even billions of dollars are spent on these pump repairs, pretty much needlessly if you did it right. And we had a call, I'm gonna give you an example, we had a call on a home on a Saturday, go down there, pull the pump out, and the line was blocked from the pump to the street. We pulled the pump out, completely inundated right to the, basically to the top with cat litter.
What?
And it said that it was flushable. Same thing, the cat litter goes
Clay?
into the, into
Oh,
the,
that seems odd.
it's essentially clay, you know, it's like
Yeah,
clay.
clumps.
Clumps, and
It absorbs a lot of water, so it kind of expand, right?
so it
Yeah,
expands.
I think it does, yeah.
Goes in, expands, and gets into the line, and expands, and,
It seals the line.
I never heard of,
If you wanted to seal the
Doing
line, you
that.
couldn't pick a better.
We can, there's a lot of interesting stories, but.
I'm sure you
I've
do
never-
have some.
The guy showed me he was, you know.
He showed you the bag or whatever?
He showed me the
can't
bag, because he knew I was wrong. I said, no, that doesn't say pumpable, you know, I mean, come on. It's okay to go in your septic tank, but it's not okay to come out here, so. We have there's all kinds of things that go on, it just.
So given the storage and age of the system, are you finding a need to put more into your maintenance repair
So,
budget?
and the long and short of it is it above 10%? The answer is yes. It's probably, it's over 15, and it's probably in the, you know, 16 to 17% range that they rebuild on a yearly basis, and there's 775 of them or something like that in the town-wide.
Now, not everybody has a pump, do they, for the sewer?
Not everybody has a pump, but it's where
That's it.
predominantly, the big part is where you were in a hole and you couldn't gravity it around the lakes.
Oh, okay.
Or ledge.
Or, yeah, or into a ledge. So, what kind of started off the big thing is, you know, around the lakes, you would have to have short gravity systems with long force mains. And, you know, it wouldn't necessarily shorten up. If you have 8 in series, you might not be able to get them all into the same line. So in order to keep the piping, even though there's a lot of it, in order to keep that kind of minimized, a low-pressure system, it took less piping and less big pump stations. So that's really how they came into town.
Okay.
Pretty complicated.
They do, yeah, there's no easy, you know, there's no easy. So if you go the other way, you know, if you go one way around the lake, you could have, you know, you could make the betterment twice as high as you did using a low pressure system. So that it's still related kind of to money, and but the easiest way, like on Cedar Lake, to get around it, in Big Allen to get around it, the easiest way was to run a low pressure system. So each pump moves the mass along, keeps it going. But it does come down to money in the long run.
And so who pays for the repairs to the pumps?
So we're responsible essentially from the pump out.
Oh, okay.
So, and we've had people, you know, call that they have a flood in their house. We go up there, the alarm's not on, the pump's working, and there's a blockage either in the house or between.
So
the
that's
house
their
and the pump.
responsibility.
So that's their responsibility, yeah.
So when my light goes on and I call you, you send somebody up, you change out the pump, no cost to me. Although I get the little flyer that says, you know, if I put stuff in there I wasn't supposed to, you're gonna send me a bill for the repair.
And we have done that, because, you know, once, pretty much everybody gets a free pass, and until you weren't. And then, if, you know, you get called 3 or 4 times to the same house, it's, somebody's not paying attention.
Okay.
That happens too.
But you also must have that 1 or 2 systems that just are fluky and always kind of crapping out, for want of a better phrase. I don't want to say it's always the homeowner's responsibility is what I'm saying. You must have some of those really intricate cases that are just always messing up. Like, for example, I mean, I don't have any issues with mine, but we are on ledge. Pretty sure I have a pump.
Yes, you do.
And I know that the alarm went off once, and we were like freaking out, like, oh my God, And I understand, they explained it to us when we had the house built, why, it was the way it is. Turned out that it was just nothing, really. I think you guys came out, they checked the thing and just shut it off, and they just said it was kind of a freaky thing. You must have that kind of stuff
Well, it could be,
happening.
it could be like a power glitch or something that set the light off or the alarm off. So that does happen, but most of the time, legitimately, when the alarm, when the buzz is sounding and the light's on,
It's serious, it's something.
It-
yeah.
it can be, it's usually something related to the pump. But they are, there's many in town that are, like my brother's, which was my parents' old house, but my brother's is the original pump. It's 1997, so it's 20 years old. It's never been, he had one service, actually had to go there once. The neighbor called and said, your parents' light is on. So I went down and, what had happened, they weren't there at the time, but my brother had used the facilities and it went out, and the gooseneck in the pump was frozen because of inactivity. So I dropped the light down there and left it there for an hour and came back and everything.
Melted.
But that was, it has had one service call, but it's never been replaced. It's the original pump. So if you, and that's the biggest thing, if you take care of, you're cognizant of what you put in it, they really do work pretty well. But they do, they do wear out. I'm not they have a new Extreme Series pump. I'm not I like the older ones a little bit better, but that's all you can get now. So.
Now, if somebody were to replace it, who would pick that cost up, the homeowner or the town?
No, if it's related, if it's worn out or related to part of the calculation in the water and the sewer budget is to buy X amount of dollars worth of E1 parts. We keep a stockpile there, we keep a rotational.
Yeah, so it's not like when you take my pump out and give me a new one, you get rid of my pump. You take my pump back, you change out the circuit boards, you change out the worn out parts. You're rebuilding that, and it's gonna end
So
up
it's
at
ready
somebody
for the
else's
next-
house next week
It's
when
ready for
there's.
the next, right.
And so just, I guess part of the question was, based on experience, do you have enough money in the budget to get the parts you need, given the frequency that you're seeing these days?
Yeah, because we're finding, well, the more you're around them, the more you can kind of, I can just give you a thing. If we bought a bearing kit through the company who makes them, they're pretty expensive. There's probably like $280 or something like that. And we actually know where we can get this exact identical, same serial number bearing, same maker and everything else for about $40. So, when you start looking at things individually, you can find it better, a better price on it. So we've had them long enough, so there's a lot of things that, it's just, same exact bearing, same exact number, just a different supplier and big savings.
Is it anticipated that the sewer rate will go up, stay the same, or you don't know yet?
I don't know, I don't know what I don't think it'll go up, I don't, but I
good.
don't know what the number for,
You don't have the final numbers yet for
I
the
don't have the
budget?
number for the debt, like debt service and things
Oh,
like that.
right.
See, I don't have that, so, I know Bob is working on it, I talked to her today about it, so. I know the flow is going down, so
The what was going down?
the overall flow is still down,
Oh, I see, yeah.
it's still down low, which is, good, but
Is that because of conservation? People,
a lot of it, yeah, I think people are more conscious of,
Good.
you know, the water they run and the water they use and what goes into the sewer, so. And then, you know, certainly the plant and upgrades and out throughout the system, so. A little bit of everything, but I think there is quite a bit of conservation, more than when I first got here.
Yeah.
We had 404 customers with more flow than we got now with 2,100 customers, so. You know,
Really?
It's significant.
Yeah, it is.
So
Wow.
what is the percentage, Greg, roughly now for those on, it used to be like 40% were on, or
It's close to 50.
is it?
Yeah.
Huh.
I think it was either 48, 52 or 49, 51, but it's
Oh, wow.
almost 50% right now.
So isn't it, the more people you have on it, the less expensive it's supposed to be? Isn't that the way it was put together?
Well, that's kind of what was being said, but that depends. It depends on, you know, how much you have to expand it, how much debt you incur to expand it to get the additional customers. So certainly there's an economy of scale. The more people you sign up, it does drive the thing down, but the more work you do to get those people to sign up could drive it back up again. So it's not directly, you know, you can't make the argument that we're gonna add 200 more customers, it should take our bill down 10%. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. It's, and if somebody was, you know, saying, well, the more customers we get, the more this is gonna come down, it really doesn't work that way. So what you want is to have, you know, add customers. The best customer, I guess I would say, the best customer is a customer who's added on to a place in the system where the sewer already is. So if you're adding a new person in the confines of the existing sewer shed, that's a bonus versus adding 100 customers outside the service shed, but incurring debt to go get them.
I see.
So it's,
Similar to what happened when they built it around the lakes. Is that what you mean?
yeah.
Right.
So you can't automatically say that. It's not really true.
Other questions on his budget?
Yeah, I noticed that, well, Leon added to the snow and ice supplies, but I would assume that number's still well below what we're gonna
Well,
spend.
Yeah,
So he's just trying to
yep.
hedge it a little bit, but we're still gonna be using the exemption to,
Yeah, we've only been under, I don't know, I think in my 23 winters, we've only been under what was appropriated, I think, once. And we were close once, but other than that,
So those requests typically come to us, right? For the extra snow and ice money?
Mm.
Not anymore, they changed that law.
Oh, okay.
It used to, yeah. Now I think
used to,
the,
but then,
yeah.
yeah, they didn't want to
now they let you
do
do
that
it.
anymore.
You
Yeah.
just spent it. All right.
it was
I'm
changed
trying to-
several years ago.
Trying to think of one was coming, but it's not.
I forget exactly when it was, but
At least 5 years ago.
it might be that long. I think the selectmen still authorize it, right?
The board has to take the vote.
Right, but it doesn't come to us anymore,
The board has to take a vote to allow
deficit spending.
deficit spending.
Yeah.
And, you know, it'd be nice if they did it when they put the parking ban on, but it doesn't.
Oh, they
They
don't.
still hold off until I make my first request, and then they vote.
Well, this year was probably a little tricky because we didn't have
Well, it
the
gets
snow
close.
till the late.
You could, you could be cruising along pretty good, and then all of a sudden, 3 storms in a row,
Right,
3 storms in 3 weeks, it turns the budget around.
right.
Then it gets, then you're trying to balance a selectmen's meeting and
Right.
enough money to buy raw materials. It gets a little tight, so.
Any other questions?
I think I'm all set.
All
Do
set?
you have anything else you want to share with us, Greg?
No, I'm good. I just what I talked to you about, but,
About the,
I think we can work that out.
and I think that's worth sharing, is that Greg has a concern about the way that we're centralizing the payment of electricity.
Right.
But only in as much as he has so
Lot of
many
bills.
meters that he has to be responsible for. And he's afraid if something gets overlooked or missed, and it could be months before he can,
And I actually, I told you 20, but I had Alyssa check, and she told me 19.
19, okay, so.
Oh, well, pretty close.
Throw a hat over that, I guess, huh? But that, I can understand where you might want to be able to keep track of that, because, you know, if there's a mistake, if there's an error, if you don't catch it for a month, or 2 months, or 3 months, and we know that the utilities have a tendency, sometimes they don't read the meter, they just estimate it. And 3 months down the road, if you have a mistake, you have to put toothpaste back in the tube sometimes, and that's not always easy, so I understand, but maybe you can work out something with Barbara so you can see them, and at least know.
I think I really kind of have to, because
A spike up or down in the usage is usually an indication that something's wrong.
we've had a certain way to do things, and then we've fallen away from that, and then all of a sudden an issue arises. And it's, with 19 of them, it's just, I'm not convinced that it won't get run out of hand in a short period of time. And
None of these are like computer, none of these are IP connected, so you can look at them online, or do you have to
well, what
physically?
happens is, we don't, we've gone through this is going to be the second time. The first time we went through it, there was, with the group, it was split between, generating and transmission, and now it's, solar, some of the solar things and transmission. So we see the transmission side of it. We don't necessarily see the agreements that are signed from the Selectmen
Oh,
Incorporated. Doesn't come back to us, because, just this year, something wrong, and then we called that we hadn't received our, I said, we're essentially gonna run out of electrical money before the year's end if something's changing, and then I'm looking at the kilowatt hours that are used, and it's not outrageous. And it's a method of the credits they've earned haven't been, applied and reimbursed, and so there's a lag
Lag in terms.
in terms of monies. But that's on, that's in these two doors, and that has nothing
Yeah,
to do with me until it's, months, 4 months, 5 months, so, you do it times 19 pounds, and it gets a little scary, so, I don't, I'm just leery of it, that's all I can tell you. Yikes.
Well, I appreciate that you're concerned for that, I really do.
But, it can get, I'll give you another example. We have a little mini solar panel on the DPW garages. It was a grant, actually, through the green community thing. It was Gene Boubon was looking for a project, and I kind of said, well, I'll jump in on that. So she got a grant. We put a little solar mini panel in down at our garage on the roof. We have a separate meter. I just looked at it today, because at one time, we were told when we first put it in, it cost like 10 grand. I had to kick an extra $100, I think, to get the 100 to 200, to get the thing completed. But it got put in, and one of the accountant, we were told that we could look monthly and see what type of service, what type of savings that we're generating off this little mini solar thing. So I had talked to the accountant. She said, oh, it was, $30 last month or $30 this month. And then all of a sudden, nobody can tell me, we've generated 10,000 kilowatt hours, 10,000 in like 18 since it's been put in. But I don't know why, but that savings per month, you can't see anymore. You don't see it. So I don't know if it's,
Because, because of the rest is offsetting it? Or-
I don't know. but it just
a
seemed to
mystery.
kind of like go away.
Right.
It's weird, but anyway, I looked at it today, and it's 10,018 kilowatt hours since its inception, so it's pretty sizable, you know, for a little mini four-panel thing, so. Cool.
Strange. Okay,
Okay.
well, thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Greg.
Thank you.
Some of the questions I was gonna have, I think I saved for Barbara.
Oh, okay. Are you ready to vote, though? On the budget?
Oh, I am, yeah.
Well, we have conservation first, which is Mike.
Okay.
Let me get that up here. Well,
So those you using the,
we go by the,
that one, it's line 36.
so that's line, yeah, we go to 36, yeah,
So,
budget.
I will make a motion that we recommend town meeting approve line number 36, purchase of services for the Conservation Department in the amount of $6,068.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Where are we, what page?
We're on line item 36.
Thank you.
There's not a page number.
Yeah, there was no page numbers on these.
Okay.
So you have to go by line item. So, any discussion on that? All in favor? So that's 6-0. Okay, the next line item,
Make a
37.
motion that we recommend town meeting approve line number 37, supplies for the Conservation Department in the amount of $1,600.
A second?
Second, Joni seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0.
And I will make a motion that we recommend town meeting approve line number 38, other charges for the Conservation Department in the amount of $600.
Second.
Joni seconds. Discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Okay, we're done with conservation. Now we can move to, let's see, 93. Yeah. Line 93.
Okay, I'll make a
That's you.
motion that we recommend to town meeting. Line item 93 for the DPW in the amount of $61,239.
Second?
Okay, discussion? All in favor? 6-0.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to town meeting approval of line item 94 for DPW in the amount under purchase of, for supplies in the amount of $81,140.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor? 6-0.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to town meeting approval of line item 95, other charges for the Department of Public Works in the amount of $1,430.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Okay, we are done with
And we want to do town road maintenance.
down, yes, that's for the private roads.
So that's line 96. I'll make a motion that we recommend to town meeting approval of line 96 for town road maintenance in the amount of $6,000.
Second.
All in favor, oh, any discussion first?
Well, it's private road maintenance.
It's the private road maintenance, yes. The,
Sorry, private road.
Well, it's.
It does
yeah,
say it,
doesn't
but,
say
yeah.
it, but I wanted it to
but,
be.
yeah, the
known.
warrant, and Barbara did text me that the warrant article for the roads will be the same as last year,
Oh.
which I think was 458.
Yes.
Okay, just to clarify that. So all in favor? 6-0.
Now, in the next section, snow and ice removal, is there any reason we can't approve the personnel costs? in this case, or are we gonna hold off on all the,
Well, he still has a guy, that's one of his guys, isn't it? Isn't it?
Isn't it overtime?
I thought that was,
Line 97?
let's look at that again.
but that's not,
If it's $47,300, then it's snow and ice overtime,
Overtime,
Oh, is it, it's overtime?
Yep.
Okay.
which is a separate line item in the salary piece. So
So-
Yeah, so
I
it's-
would agree that we can
yeah, I
probably
Yeah,
think
we
there's
vote
a
could
that.
probably
problem
vote
with
it.
Yeah, it is,
okay, then I'll make a motion. that We recommend to town meeting, line 97, in the amount of $47,300 under personnel costs for snow and ice removal.
Second?
okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 6-0.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to town meeting under snow and ice removal, purchase of services, line 98, $70,000.
Second.
Second by Joni. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 6-0.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to town meeting under snow and ice removal supplies in the amount of $100,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, that's 6-0. Okay,
Do we,
yes,
well, I was gonna say, in this case, do we do the total? No, is it necessary?
No, so we looked back at the, at
minutes.
the minutes. So we didn't vote the total, but we noted it,
It's
Oh,
you
okay,
know, as such.
It's flat up to that amount anyways.
okay.
So,
You'll notice, but it appears to be a formatting error, or else it's correct as a space holder. Between lines 97 and 98, there are a couple of zeros, but they're not really attached
Oh,
to
yeah.
anything on the serial numbers on the far left. So I don't know if they're really a space holder, or if,
Look at the file.
yeah.
We can remove it, correct?
This is, you're talking about the ones under
I see the
landfill?
same thing if you go
Snow and
to
ice, yeah.
between
nice
92
Oh,
and
between,
93.
oh, yeah, oh, you're right.
Between 100 and 101.
And
Yeah,
84,
okay.
so that, there's several places in there that.
Yeah, and so I just, don't know
Sorry,
what it is.
I wonder if, Barbara might know, but I wonder if it's because we used to have two line items for the department head salary and the salary.
Oh, right.
Maybe it's just a carryover.
Yeah.
We can check the formula and just remove it before we print it,
Okay,
right? Because I'll be updating it,
right.
right?
Or you can just delete the zero from there and leave the formula, but
if
That
we-
could be
If
it,
it's
yeah.
formatting, we'll just
Yeah.
remove it.
If we leave them as is.
Actually, if you, the
There's a couple.
DPW, well, there's a
Somebody
couple.
could quite rightly want to know,
what's supposed to be
What it
there, what
is.
used to be
exactly,
there.
yeah,
Right.
I understand.
sure. And that's the basis for the observation.
It
Interesting.
appears-
Yes, that whole page has those zeros.
Yes, it seems to be just that page, but,
Yeah, I didn't notice
no,
that
I think there
before.
was a
on the
prior
next
page I
page,
looked
too?
at.
is it?
Yep.
Council on Aging has it.
I'm sure
I
that's
I
probably
think Joni
what
had
it
the right
is.
thing. It looks like there was the top salary line item, so maybe she,
Knowing that it's Excel, I'm sure that's what it
That
is.
could be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could check it on the
Check
computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Barbara made a mistake at all.
No,
I think the system might have,
It
Right.
could have just, generated it,
yeah,
because there
right,
used to be something there.
right.
oh, yeah, there's on Council on Aging, that's interesting, and on Veteran Services too, which is odd, because I don't think there was ever a,
Did we get a new veterans agent?
yeah,
We did.
yeah, but anyway,
I'm just flipping through, I don't see it last year.
yeah.
I'm just
oh.
spot checking, but I
Yeah.
don't see it anywhere else.
So landfill is, we would do under Board of Health, I believe, so,
Right.
which is Thursday.
Council,
So,
You're gonna send her, Joni had a comment.
I did send it to her today, along with Mike's question, to Bree. And I said that you would or had.
I spoke to Linda on the phone, so I haven't spoken to Bree directly.
Oh, okay.
I think they're both planning to come.
Oh, okay. On Thursday, okay. All right. Any other budgets that we could do yet, right now? Oh, Barbara did send me a note. I think she sent it to me during the last meeting, I didn't see it till after, that there is no budget for the town moderator.
Oh,
So,
yeah, oh, yeah, I think she.
Maybe I did
pinged
say
you, Yeah, at the
Yeah.
end of the meeting.
okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if I had said it or not. I might have said it as we were walking out or
I
something.
think you did, yeah.
Well,
maybe.
yeah, so the discussion was, it was missing from the budget, and we thought it was because we kept zeroing it out and went away. And I thought the issue was, maybe this moderator didn't want the $100 stipend, but shouldn't we at least leave that in there for future versus just...
Well, he is unopposed, so for 3 more years, or he's gonna
But
be there.
isn't there an item for the moderator's statewide
He
membership?
must not,
He used to be active. I don't-
right, well, maybe he pays for it himself, I don't know.
Well,
Seems strange.
Barbara would know if there's
I
no
would know, but
budget,
yeah,
there's no
she
budget.
said there was no budget, so,
Okay.
yeah. Just looking at that. Let's see if there's
It's
any,
just gonna get difficult one year when we decide, hey, we wanna put it back in there. Now you gotta reestablish it, and down the road, it's gonna look like there's something new, and why are you adding $300 in here? When we could've just had it every year, not spent it, turned the money back, and saved the future explanation, but...
I don't really see anything else that we could really vote on yet. Well, how about historical commission? Does anybody have a problem with that one? Lines
So,
133?
It's funny you mentioned that, because when Becky was here, by the way, what's Becky's last name? I don't,
Becky Gendro?
Oh,
The
Gendro.
Oh, yes.
I was thinking of historical, because didn't they come before us last year, and they have a new line item, right?
They,
Are they gonna come before us?
well, I mean,
Or-
we could, but it is pretty small, though their purchase of services went up.
But they were doing, I was just curious,
Did
because
some-
they're doing those
They're doing those surveys.
survey
and-
things,
Yeah.
yeah. it was- Who has historical commission?
Hold on. I have it somewhere. Did I not put them in? I don't actually see them here. Yikes. Well, they weren't active for
It's no
many
big
years.
deal.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I don't see them in here.
Is it still, was it Barbara Search?
Search, yeah. That is odd. Let's see, historical. Page, I think it's page 39 here. So their consultants went up from 300 to 800. But the rest is level funded. Oh, no, the mileage went up too, and from 100 to 200.
Well, let's see what they did last year.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me if, again, I don't know who has it. We can-
No, I don't think anybody has it. That's the problem. Just looking for any notes from last year.
Is this part of the inventory of buildings that they're doing? Do you
Now, that
have
was, I think, that was money from CPC, wasn't it?
CPC?
Yeah, that was I want to say substantial, but it was certainly more than
Because
$800.
they have a historical component to what they do also, right?
Yes,
They're gonna do an inventory of all the buildings they're using consultants.
yes. I don't know, purchase of services. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that was for. I mean, I could call up Barbara
Yeah.
Church and ask her. Otherwise, I don't really see any other articles that we
looking to
could
see
vote at this point.
If they came before us last year.
I think it did, but
I thought she did, but I can't remember if it was they didn't have a warrant, did they?
I think only CPC, it was through the CPC, I believe. They had the historic
Historic
resource survey.
preservation,
Oh, that might be what I'm thinking of, yeah.
They had $20,000 from Community Preservation Act funds for the historic research survey.
Oh, the survey, okay.
I don't have anything on historical.
Yeah.
Because there was also money that they devoted to preserving town records.
Right, that was, I think that's through the town clerk
Okay.
office.
They sponsor that.
Yeah,
And then there's the cemetery work too.
and the cemetery work as well, right. Let me see if I can see any notes from last year. Oh, I could give her a call and find out. We could vote that on Thursday, perhaps.
I don't think she needs to come in, but if someone could,
Yeah.
if you can just call and get an explanation as to what it is, otherwise
Right.
I have a hard time. It's a small amount of money, I'm not opposed to it, but I have a hard time.
we should find out, yeah.
Voting in favor of something I can't explain.
Okay. I'll give her a call. We don't have any reserve fund transfers, but we do have minutes for the 27th and the 29th. And I know I sent them out a little late, but hopefully you've had a chance to look at them. I know you have, Jim.
Did you? Did they look good? Okay,
Couple of things.
okay.
All right.
Joanne, are you okay to make edits on them, or did you, okay.
So why don't we go with the 27th first?
Leave our time here, you guys, you're kind of talking
Oh,
to each other.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting lost.
That means it's probably not worth writing down if that's going on.
oh, stop.
Well, remember, I always keep notes too, so, but I know what you mean. Sometimes I can't hear, like, you guys. And I know I'm notorious for not speaking up, apparently.
Yeah, that is true. Supposed to be right on the microphone.
Yep.
So, Jim, would you like to start, since I see your notes?
Well, there's a
Speak up and
couple of
tell us,
things.
Joanne.
So,
Speak up and tell us.
and I'm not sure how much of a change is involved, but in the notes of the 22nd, what is it, the 27th? Yeah.
Yes.
Under reserve fund transfers. So it says library request for reserve fund transfer of $854 to purchase membership in CW Mars. Actually, the problem there was the budget was underfunded for that purchase. They didn't put enough in it, so we had to add $854 to cover. And I don't know if it's the purchase or the renewal. How does that work?
Why don't we just change the word purchase to fund?
Towards,
Oh, to fund membership?
to fund the membership?
Yeah, that
Words
would
to that
probably-
effect.
Right.
Okay. But I just, because we've owned it right along, this is like a renewal every year, isn't it? I
Yes.
thought? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've had it for,
Well,
And they just didn't put enough in. They just, you know.
I don't think that, I guess it's hard to estimate what it is. I don't
It
know
is,
what
but
it's
the year before, they
exactly based
estimated almost 10%. It just covered it, and this year they
Oh.
estimated
It's
2.5%.
1% of our
and
overall
it missed it.
budget, and they
They missed it. by-
changed it along the line from when they put it in, yep.
So, whatever that takes to, just to
You
smooth
want
that.
just to say to renew membership, is that?
But
No.
To-
Just to, I would say.
To cover
just
cover the shortfall in the budget
fund-
for the, to continue.
fund-
the-
Okay, so instead of purchase membership, fund shortfall
To
in
fund the membership.
CMRPC dues.
Or you could put, instead of to purchase, you could put to fund membership in CWMRs, and I think that's enough. Just change the word to fund.
All right.
Yeah.
I've crossed it out
Because-
3 times now.
Okay. And then down below, it says, the next paragraph it starts Board of Health. The second sentence, it says, JL stated that. I think it should say, JL asked if the town followed the required process with the state. You didn't state that they followed, you asked
I
if they did
asked.
follow.
Yeah, you did
were
ask.
asking- that was-
Okay.
Did they follow it, not they
Right.
did follow it, if they, yeah, so that's all. It was a question more than a statement, yeah.
There's a
That's
word-
it, everything else looked good to me.
That was the
Under missing-
327, sorry, the
Says would be
327 one?
performed.
Yeah.
First would be,
Where's that?
where it says BBS, what services would be performed? the first
Oh, yeah, there's
thing,
an E
Missing E.
to the B.
I'm sorry, where are you?
In the
It's-
same paragraph that we just did,
Under the Board of Health, where it starts with the Board of Health. It's the third line. It's just a B without the E.
Or would be performed, yeah.
You see it?
But phonetically, it works.
It did.
So, So while we're on that page,
Podcast.
if we move up a little bit, the 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph starts, MH asked if the town is lacking in activities. AR said that the budget does not allow adding activities. I thought her comment was that it was level funded budget and there really aren't any shortfalls in services, and that if they were to bring in other programs, that would be covered by fees for those programs and through the revolving fund, rather than this sort of suggests that we're lacking the ability to provide some needed activities and services. I wonder if others had the same recollection, or if they're okay with the
I
way
don't
this was
remember what she
presented.
said exactly.
Under the assessor?
No, under the
Recreation.
recreation.
MH asked if the town is lacking in activities. AR said that the budget does not allow adding activities.
I don't,
Maybe you should say the budget
I didn't
doesn't
read that.
include additional activities?
She didn't seem to think that we were lacking any.
Right.
But, there were
But the
requests for
budget
additional
doesn't-
activities
doesn't
that
allow
could be
f-
addressed from that.
There's nothing included in this budget to increase it, but it could be done. I suppose that was her implication, that it could be increased through other methods? I don't know.
Well, I know a lot of the adult leagues have fees, so I think they're just self-sustaining through that revolving fund. Because Tantasco doesn't charge, I don't believe.
Right.
So it's just for some of the basketballs or whatever they use.
Yes, it's on incorrect. I'm having a hard time with what the alternative words are, and the statement is not incorrect. It doesn't allow for adding, but it also doesn't address the leading question of are we lacking? Which I don't,
why don't we just say no? AR said no.
which is what my recollection was. I just want
Oh,
to see if others
Okay.
have thought they had the same
Oh.
recollection or not.
I don't.
do you mind, do you recall?
You do or don't?
I wrote down budget does not allow adding activities.
Okay,
Oh,
I wrote.
Okay,
maybe she
Right.
did say it.
okay.
I'm fine with that. That's fine.
All
Okay.
right. Anything else on March 27th?
Just one more. If we go to the first page under the clerk.
Oh, I lose that one. Oh, here it is.
The second line, LG said there was one other full-time employee in the office. JL asked about the job title and grade, and then the discussion regarding the town clerk's salary. The job title and grade, was that question related to the full-time
Assistant
employee in the
town
office,
clerk.
or was it leading into the discussion on
No, it was the assistant town clerk.
assistant town
So
clerk?
that's what
Okay.
it's, that's what that would indicate.
All right, very good.
Okay, and that's,
So any change on that?
No.
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of March 27th as amended?
So moved?
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. 7 minutes. All right, let me just write this down. Okay, and now the 29th. Ooh, that's a lot
so,
of votes in it.
under review of fiscal year 2019 tree warden, second paragraph. TC stated that they gypsy moths, I think
Oh.
it should be the gypsy moths. That's a tough one.
Oh, yes. Good catch.
Where were you?
And
Oh,
then, under review of fiscal for building inspector budget, I think it's just some clarification is required. That paragraph where it says, he says, MH stated that the electrical and plumbing inspectors have increased budget due to volume, and that there have been, and I think that sentence should say, there have been increases in inspection fees, period. And then the next sentence should say, NB stated that the fees are based on square footage. It's not the fees, inspection fees, it's the permits.
That's for the building
So
permit.
it should say, NB stated that you can eliminate the word fees if you want. You could put the building permits, no, you can put the fees for building permits are based on square footage. So, because that's a variable number, whereas the fees are $50, that's a flat rate.
For electrical and plumbing.
For electrical and
Right.
plumbing, the inspectors get $50 an
Right.
inspection. But the fees are variable based on square footage for permits, so.
So while you're there, the sentence that said, MH stated electrical and plumbing inspectors have increased budget due to volume.
Yeah,
I believe I said that, but then we corrected that statement, that the budgets have gone up because the fees we pay have gone up. They haven't, so the increased budget for those two inspectors just
Prorated. It's a straight
reflect the
proration.
incremental fees we will be paying them at the same yearly budgeting number for inspections. So
right.
it's
It's
the
50
volume has
times
no
X
impact
versus
on
40
the
times
rate.
X.
So
Is that what you mean, Mike?
Yep, so to fix that, I think it should, plumbing inspectors have increased budget due to increased fees being paid to the inspectors.
Our increased inspection fees, yeah, inspector fees.
Well, increased
there are-
fees
well,
being
also,
paid
though-
to the inspectors, and then the remaining sentence that you corrected,
Yeah.
and that there have been increases in
Okay.
fees to cover the increase. That'll tie both together.
Okay.
Increased fees paid to inspectors.
Yep.
And then there have been increases in inspection fees.
The growth was through pricing, not through sales.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Pricing not through volume.
Yeah, the last part,
Well,
it
yeah.
would stay the same, right? And that there have been changes made in fees to cover the increase. That can stay the same?
Jim asked that she just put a period after increase in fees. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
And the increase in the fees for permits, or the increase in the dollars, total dollars for permits, is based on just a recalculation based on square footage. If you did the same number of buildings, it would just cost more because you're doing it based on square feet, so
Yep.
we're not talking about,
Can I sentence back to you and make sure I get it right?
which one?
Yes.
MH stated that the electrical and plumbing inspectors have increased budget due to volume, increased fees paid to inspectors, and that there have been increases in inspection fees.
Strike the word volume.
Yeah.
Okay, due to increased fees paid to inspectors, and that there have been increases in inspection fees.
Yes.
Yes.
You teeing up any more, Jim? Because I have another one.
No, I'm all set.
So this is a.
I have one other one, but it's on a vote count.
Oh, uh-oh.
A vote count? I
Okay,
thought-
so mine has to do with the motions on the votes. All these say the motion was voted to accept.
Yeah,
Generally, I think our motions are that we would recommend the number, not necessarily, we're not
motion-
really accepting it, or we're recommending to town meeting that number.
Well, you
I
moved- you
I
moved
changed
the
it here, say
motion.
I put the motion was to recommend to town meeting.
Yes.
So you can, well, I don't think you have to get that involved, but the motion was moved to accept or to approve. I think as long as it's consistent, me personally, it means the same thing. I think, you checked the minutes from last year? I think it said approve, but I don't see where accept is any different.
Yeah, the ones from last year said accept.
So.
Oh, they did?
Did
Oh.
say it,
Yeah,
okay.
I think the motion is moved and then accepted.
That'd be all right if we
Does it
change the word
specify the
accept,
dollars?
change
So
the motion to be, that recommend instead of accept, I'd be okay with that.
So remember, and actually, I can stay with you for a few minutes to, just because we're trying to help her out with all these line items,
Yeah.
because every
Right.
line item has to be noted.
Are you just cutting and
We can
pasting
just-
there,
yeah,
or
she's
you are
cutting
able
and
to?
pasting. So I think what I did was I just put in, MHJL seconds,
Motion
and then motion
accepted.
accepted. And I think this is basically just saying the votes are below as follows, and so it's really here. So the motion was accepted 7-0. I mean,
But we're accepting the motion, but our motion is to recommend to the town meeting.
Well, then maybe we can change it up here.
You don't really accept the motion.
Right,
We
so where it says,
Would accept, Larry, I don't remember, and I think it came up and it was like, as long as it's consistent. So I'd have to look at last year's or the year before's to see. I really don't remember.
so I'm okay with the format that she has, where it says the motion was moved to accept, if you change that motion to recommend by whatever, and if you want to leave accept in the details down below, I'm okay with that.
And as you guys are talking, I'm thinking, the motion was approved to recommend to town meeting. The motion was approved by us to recommend to town meeting.
Hold on.
I don't know, does that sound like what it is?
Well, we never put that before.
But we're approving the motion, and the motion is to recommend to town meeting.
Okay, we can,
I'm just trying to follow the logic. Larry, you have a puzzled look upon your
we can probably
face.
change it
Usually
to
the
approve.
verb in the motion is what's being approved. So if the motion was to recommend to town meeting X,
And that's what you
then
said.
we approve or accept, and there it is. You don't have to repeat it. In addition, ordinarily, in fact universally, I think, the first number is for. The second number is against. If there's a third number, it's for abstention.
Right.
You just look at the larger number and you know if it passed or failed.
So we'll leave it as
The
is.
motion is to recommend.
Yeah, so-and-so moved to recommend to the town to vote,
Oh, I see what you're
6-0-0.
I see what you're saying.
To recommend.
And it's, yes, right. So we move the
We don't-
motion to recommend.
We don't approve the
We don't approve
motion.
nothing.
We recommend it to the town to,
Well, when you move the motion,
when we move the motion to recommend to town
and
meeting.
we're accepting the motion as moved.
I can live with that.
Well, that's true. We are accepting the motion as moved.
So she has it up here, the motion was
So are you going
moved.
to change it to
Made
So
and
she's
seconded.
just going to include the word,
recommend?
yeah,
Approved.
the motion was moved to recommend, blah, 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 and then we can still leave these as is.
And there's one in there, if you look through one of the boxes, it says 7.00 instead of 7-0-0. That's the one I was talking
I
about.
thought I fixed that one, I saw that one.
But that happens.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Out of all those 7-0-0, you only miss one.
And there's a lot of them.
Was baseball, you'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Wait until we just go through all the articles.
All right. I still don't see that, but
Okay.
I'll take your word for it. All right. Are we ready to vote? or do you have one more?
Almost, I would recommend, so after we got through all the line items, just before the thing, approval of meeting minutes, the sense is there was discussion between a bunch of you regarding the town moderator budget. JL will check with Barbara Barry.
I think it was
There really is
KN.
no budget. Can we say regarding the town moderator budget being excluded from the,
But we didn't know that then.
I don't think
or
we knew it
missing,
until
or missing
after.
from the materials or something?
I don't think we knew it until after
Yeah,
the
I
meeting
don't
was
think-
over.
yeah.
I hadn't looked at my phone. Oh,
Well,
no, there was no moderator budget last year either. I have to look at it.
but
Just set this over date.
Mike isn't completely crazy. You know, at the end of the minutes, we can put NB, note bene.
Well, we could.
Subsequent to this meeting, it was disclosed and
If you want,
that
yeah,
there
you can do
is
that.
no moderator's
We'll capture
budget.
that in old
Then we've
business
made a
and-
record of it, but the record is outside the minutes. It's just accompanying the minutes.
You could put that.
That's what I'm
Yes,
suggesting.
I think that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Mike is basically right.
So he's saying, so that last sentence, just leave as is, but then just make a comment that
Yeah,
it
N
has
capital-
since
Capital
been,
N period, capital B period, colon, subsequent to this meeting, it was disclosed that.
there was no town moderator budget.
There is no budget for the town moderator, period.
So now we've talked about a budget twice, it doesn't exist.
Still doesn't click.
We'll get it some.
We'll give him some money. Obviously, we want a budget for him.
No.
guess Barbara's right. If I look at last year's book, we had a page for the town moderator with a whole lot of zeros on it. But the line item detail that you guys work off did not have a
Doesn't
town
have it,
moderator
right.
item in there. So she just took the page out.
So is there a motion to accept the minutes of March 29th as amended? Please.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Can I vote even though I missed half an hour? Or
Yes.
was there part of it?
You were there for the end of
Yeah,
it?
that's right, you came in late. Yeah, you can sit
Yeah.
there, I think.
Okay.
All right, all in favor? 6-0. Okay. Moving on. Now we're up to new business. Anybody have new business? Old business. We're gonna get out of here before 9. Public access. Oh, you're not public. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Anyone? Second?
Sure, second.
Mike?
Unless Joni did it.
I put you down. Mike, second, at 8:46, all in favor? 6-0. We will see you Thursday.
After board.
That's the